And throughout this time, sorry, I'm taking over the questions here. I'm curious myself. Going back to the previous episode we had with Fred speaking, we're talking about our parents and how at that time they didn't control us so much, mostly because when we weren't in front of them, they couldn't, right? They didn't know where we were. They didn't. Was it the same with you? Obviously, your parents had a restaurant, so they must have been working all the time.
Yeah.
So your life was your life. You didn't,
Zero control.
Unless you were working with them there. If you weren't in the restaurant, you had the run of the place, basically.
Yeah, completely.
And was there any kind of trust issues there? Or did they question where you were or anything like that? Because my parents didn't. I told my parents we're going camping. And on Sunday, when we got back after a Friday and a Saturday, they'd ask how was camping.
Yeah.
They didn't say, prove to me that you were camping or anything like that. There was just, they just assumed that we had been camping.
I have various things with that. I was actually within my irresponsibility, very responsible. So if my mother would say, you can't come home late, I'd say, I'm going to do it. I'm going to be there anyway. And I just do it. But she knew where I was. I remember specifically 2 different things. One, where we were out somewhere, but then everyone wanted to go to a beach party. And so we were actually in Torremolinos. I think I got somebody to bring me home on a moped, came up, woke up my parents to say, I'm going to a beach party, just so you know, I'll be coming after breakfast. And your grandmother said, no, you're not going. And I said, well, yes, I am, but just so you know, I'm not going to worry you. So I left. I went to the beach party, so I do stuff like that. And then, for example, the camping example, when we were 16, we all went camping to El Chorro, but the bit on the other side of the Caminito del Rey, a bunch of us, all couples, and that was all Spanish. So especially Spanish girls, their parents at that time, there'd be no way they'd let them go with their boyfriend camping by themselves. Yeah. So one of them actually made a false Cruz Roja letter that they were going on some sort of camping with the Cruz Roja organized somewhere, but somewhere completely else. So as far as all the other parents were concerned, we were somewhere completely else. Yeah. And for that, I told my parents, we're going here, we're going to be there if something happens. So they actually knew where we were. Yeah. But out of the 10 people that were going, nobody else's parents knew where we actually really were. So, and it was somewhere. So yes, completely yes, and no control on the one hand, but on the other hand, within my I'm going to do what I'm going to do, my parents always sort of knew what I was doing. Yeah.
Does your generation do that or not?
Lie to their parents and say where they are?
Well, let's not call it lie. That's a strong word. Let's say just...
Give fake truths.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
depends.
Times haven't changed that much then, yeah?
I mean, there's always the strict parents that don't let their children go anywhere. So some of my friends, they have to slightly alter the truth.
My favorite one was when I was going to Torremolinos, I just say I'm going to the center. So my parents would assume I was going to the center here in the town we live in, but I was going to the center in the next town. And then when they'd catch me out, because back in the day in the discotheques, you'd get a stamp on your arm and they'd catch me out. Your grandmother would catch me out. I said, if I was going to the center, you didn't ask me which center.
Being a lawyer already. Huh? Well, I find it quite funny. Before we change subjects, another common thread that we all have is the fact that despite having different degrees of sort of neglect, like Alfredo was saying last week about no, because that's the way Alfredo said it about his father. He said it was basically neglect. I never saw my dad, right?
His was a bit extreme.
Yeah, it was extreme. Ours was middle of the ground. But it is true that we all knew that because our parents had no control over us outside the house, we did instinctively have that common sense to come back and we knew that our parents would eventually worry somehow, right? So we had to we had that common sense basically. Nobody had to drill it into us.
Yeah.
I find that funny.
But I find that now, obviously, unless your parents track where you are using like the Life 360 apps and stuff like that, you can still do the same thing of say I'm going here. Like you tell your parents, I bought a flight to Barcelona, but in reality you bought a flight to I don't know where. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Of course, if they track the flight and stuff like that, then you're screwed. There's just a lot more means for you to get caught out nowadays.
Yeah.
I was going to say, if
But-
you're on social media and your parents follow you,
Yeah, of course. But like for me, like for example, I don't post anything on social media most of the time.
That's true.
But obviously, I tell you guys where I'm going because I
We
I
don't
don't
need
need-
to.
And we don't sew an air. What's it called? One of these Apple tracker thingies to your dress.
an AirTag.
An AirTag.
AirTag.
Yeah. So like nowadays, obviously, you can still lie the same amount. There's just many more means to get caught.
And
Yeah.
memes.
And memes, yeah. To get caught.
Mm.
You know, like if like you guys are on Instagram, some of you follow my friends, and I say, "Oh, we're just going for a quick drink," but then in the end we go partying. You guys wouldn't care, but if you did care, you would be able to see if one of my friends posted a video online. You know what I mean? And then I'm screwed.
Yeah. Well,
That
you
wouldn't
always do.
happen back then.
You always do what we tell you, which is, keep us posted.
Yeah.
You know, if you're going out, we don't really care if you're out in Fuengirola or Malaga or Marbella, whatever. Just as long as you keep us relatively posted, so that we know
Signs of life.
signs of life. Yeah. and mommy, because of her past, probably she couldn't care less. She falls asleep and she
Vamos a ver. Let me
And
see.
wakes up the next
That I
morning
don't care
assuming-
less. That's not true. Of course I care, but you worry more than me. It's not that I don't care less.
No, you fall asleep and you wake up the next morning assuming that your child is back in his bed.
I assume.
Until I hear those little pings during the night, I don't sleep.
For
It's
me,
terrible.
no news is good news. If something bad's happened, you're going to get the phone call.
It's true.
True.
It's true. I prefer your way. I have to say.
But also, I feel like nowadays it's a lot, especially this like the Costa del Sol is a lot better than back in your guys' day.
Man, I think it hasn't changed that much.
But
I think
just in the sense of like now it's all interconnected. Like there's roads
Yeah.
and there's
Oh,
everything.
to be able to move
Like,
around,
yeah, the big danger at our time was that there was only the train line. Buses were incredibly erratic.
Yeah, well,
Um,
they're not much better nowadays.
But we had a lot of friends that had mopeds and had
Yeah,
motorbikes.
but that's not.
And that was really unsafe.
I didn't do that. So. That,
That's-
for example, I didn't do too much. But one thing, especially if you had been a girl, the things I did, like walking home by myself from Torremolinos at 4:00 in the morning.
Yeah.
If we had a daughter, even you, I wouldn't want you to do it even now, even though you're so tall. But yeah, that I did very frequently. And I wouldn't
it's true.
advise it nowadays.
It's true.
I mean, that's kind of just. I feel like it's always been like that.
Yeah, it wasn't a great idea at the time either, but
Yeah,
I did.
our parents would have freaked out.
I don't think my parents knew I did that.